I know it has been a while since I posted, but here I am again. It's been a while since I posted or talked to you guys. Of course, some of you that are watching, I know I talk to you all the time at service or I see you at youth rallies. And I love my friends in this district. You guys are amazing. But today I had something to share. So I thought I'd hop on here and share a little bit with you. But I am about to make me some hot tea. And I thought, well, why don't I just throw that into the discussion too? If you'll notice, I have a new teapot and it is cast iron. It is so heavy. It is wonderful. And not only that, but I have a brand new tea that I just discovered about a week and a half ago. Anybody ever drink Teavana? Teavana had the best teas. This is years ago. And they had one called Orange Blossom. And it was like really spicy. And it had the orange, it's not hot, but you know, like orange spice. And it had nutmeg. And it had these different hints in it. And it was wonderful. And then they discontinued it. Just about the time I got hooked, they discontinued it. And then you couldn't even find Teavana anymore. I think Starbucks carried it for a while. And then they stopped carrying it. You can't even find it there. But anyway, I found a great substitute for it just about a week and a half ago, and it's also healthy. So, you know, a lot of times I like to make healthy things. We try to eat healthy. We try to eat organic. We're not always able to. There are nights we pop in an oven pizza. So, but this is kind of healthy. So basically what I do is I take an Earl Grey tea. Now I'm using the cheap little tea bags from Walmart. I love loose leaf tea, but sometimes this is just what I have. It's just easier. So I take one of those and put it in my little basket here. And then I take cloves. Now, cloves are a health powerhouse. And I take about 6 to 8 of those. I think I got about 12 there. That's quite a few, but that's okay. I love clove. I love the way it smells. In fact, when you do this, it will smell your house up like fall and Christmas, which I love anyway. I could celebrate Christmas all year long because I love it. But anyway, had to do that. Cloves make this healthy. It's amazing. And cloves, what they'll do, they're anti-inflammatory. So if you have any swelling, I have carpal tunnel in both wrists and it will take down the swelling. I've talked to you before about the turmeric chai milk or turmeric chai tea, and that turmeric will do the same thing. It'll take down inflammation. But the thing that makes cloves so special is it not only takes down inflammation in your body, but it lowers your cortisol levels. I know, right? Who of us is not stressed right now, right? If you're a mom, there's things that stress you. If you're a grandma, there's things that stress you. If you work in the church, if you're just human, you're stressed. But this is proven to lower cortisol levels. And so if you're headed to bed and you can't get your brain to shut down, this is great. It will actually start to calm you. I love it in the afternoon because I'm usually very, very busy and I can get very amped up, as you can tell. And I will drink this and it is so calming and relaxing and it tastes so good. Plus it's helping my joints, which is amazing. So I am also cooking on an induction hot plate. You guys probably noticed that I'm not at my stove today. In fact, my stove is unplugged, not because it's broken. We came back to the house twice in the last 2 weeks and my burners were on. And not because I left them on. My husband finally put a video camera in the house and we found out what was happening. We have a cat who is messing with the knobs until he turns it on. So my stove is unplugged. And I am using this little induction cooktop my husband bought me for this channel 2 Christmases ago. The reason you probably did not see me cook on it is I had a love-hate relationship with it. I could not figure out how to work it. It's amazing how well it works, though, when you read the instructions. And I finally did that. So it has been such a blessing because you can actually time an induction cooktop to turn off when you're done. So for my hot tea, I can actually set the temperature on 5 and I set the timer for about 5 and it cooks up my tea and then it shuts off and I have my hot tea ready. The other really neat thing with induction cooktops is it works through magnets. So you have to put stainless steel or whatever I said this was earlier, the heavy stuff. real metal on it so it can complete the loop and it will heat it evenly. So we're just going to go ahead and start that while I'm talking. But something with this induction cooktop, this is brand new for me, and I'm going to kind of slide it up just a little so I don't wear that hot tea once it gets hot. For one, you can boil water within a minute to a minute and a half, and it will be bubbling like full rolling boil. This thing cooks hot and it gets hot fast. It's incredible. But because an induction burner works so differently, I have found that I have to adjust how I cook. For instance, for lunch, the boys wanted burritos, and I had a little bit of leftover fajita chicken, but not enough for two boys. And I thought, I can stick in Spanish rice. And so I was making rice on this, and the water would boil away so quickly, my normal amount of water I had to keep adding so that it would cook the rice through. And I just got to thinking, the difference here, you have to change your cooking because of the atmosphere that you're cooking in. And isn't that so true? If you are trying to bake bread in a higher altitude, you have to adjust the temperature you're using, the length of time you're baking. Sometimes you even adjust the ingredients to get it quite right at that altitude. Another thing that I've noticed is mixing your own spices. My husband and I really like to make our own spice mixes because a lot of your spice mixes in the store, they have a chemical in there that is actually a form of aluminum that they're putting in your spice mixes so they won't clump. And so when you're shaking it out, you're like, oh, it's pouring great. It has aluminum in it that you're eating. So a lot of my spice mixes, we will get organic and I will mix them myself. You know, fajita mix, whiz bang seasoning for steaks and chicken and things like that. And I like to do that. But in West Texas, I could mix them and they were ready to pour because it's so dry there. Now that we live in Southern Illinois, they like to cake. They cake up. And so when I go to shake it out, nothing happens. And I have to bang it on the counter a few times, shake it up, and then it's ready to use. Now, it doesn't go bad or anything. It's fine. But listen to this. The atmosphere changes how I have to approach cooking. And I really got to thinking, essentially, changes in any kind of atmosphere alter how you should approach it. As we face new seasons in our life, the things that worked for us in the past don't always work in the present. Sometimes the things that have always worked for us need massaging. They need a change. They need a fresh look at them. Sometimes you can't face the next storm, the next giant with the same level of prayer that got you through the last storm. Sometimes you have to sprinkle in a little bit more faith because it's going to be tried much more in this season. Sometimes you have to pour in more prayer. Sometimes you have to really shake yourself and say, I'm going to go on an extended fast because this giant he's trying to defeat me and I think he's winning and, I can't let that happen. So I need to up the ante. I need to change how I'm working. I went through a time like this many years ago. I was a young minister and, as a young lady, I felt like I needed to be doing everything. And I will tell you, I am a jack of all trades. I've done a lot of things just because it needed to be done. If I see something that's not being done, I will jump in and go do it because I don't want anything left undone. And so I had gotten to a point where I was the drama director for our church, but I was also over the ladies' ministry and the men's ministry. My husband was, but I did all the cooking and the arranging and buying the stuff, and then he just taught at it. So I was doing a lot of that. My husband and I were both the youth directors of a thriving youth group. It was great. And I also taught college and career. And then I was writing curriculum for the Sunday schools because we had decided we wanted a chronological curriculum for our young people coming up, our children. And so I was writing the curriculum there. I'm actually a curriculum developer for my secular job now. And so that's what I do. But I had all of these hats that I wore. But I had a calling of God on my life to minister the word. And a lot of times, looking back, a lot of times I was so busy being the event coordinator and organizing different things, different ministries. And I was also a music director. That one too. But I was so busy there that I was not focused on the calling that I had on my life. And I went through a season. In fact, in a matter of 1 week, I went through a very tough season where I lost all of that. I was removed from every single position except singing. They needed me there. But I lost everything in a week. And it was devastating. Now, I will tell you, I did not lose all of those because I fell into sin. I didn't have a fuss with anybody. I hadn't done anything against the church. There was nothing like that. It was just the strangest thing that within a week, everything shifted and I lost everything. And I went into a sort of depression because I felt like I'm this preacher's wife. I've been in ministry most of my life and now I have nothing and I don't belong anywhere and I don't fit anywhere. I don't fit anywhere. And I began to reach out to ministers that I had listened to their preaching online, lady ministers, and I would reach out to them. Hey, could you mentor me? Could you just kind of help me a little bit through this? And every single time it was a closed door. No, I'm too busy. No, I'm going through health problems, or they wouldn't answer. I reached out to a Bible seminary and they had a women's program, women, up and coming in ministry. And I reached out and I said, hey, can I join your group? Could I have some help? Excuse me. At my house, we set timers for everything. That was one of them. But anyway, so I reached out to this Bible seminary. Could I join your group? Could I just listen in on Zoom calls? I know you do Zoom calls. And they said, no, this is not for you. This is for alumni only. I'm sorry if you're going through that. It's just not for you. And I reached out to a counseling group that's supposed to counsel ministers and their wives. And somehow it was, well, you're ministry, but you're not. And it's not for you. And I felt so completely alone. I had lost everything. And there was no one that could help me. And I was faced with some decisions. It was a brand new season for me not to be needed. I thrive on being needed. And it was a new season. It was devastating. And I began to look at the options I had. And one of those options was I could throw myself into my secular career and set aside anything to do with the church. I could have left the church, or I could just attend and sit on a pew and not touch anything because I might break it. And I could focus on that secular career. Now, my career was going very well. I was at the bank. I had moved from personal banker to branch manager to a district officer. My career was growing and I could have thrown myself into that, but there was something in me that I said, wait a minute, God, I know the moment you called me to minister your word. I know that you have more for my life. And I know that while I need a job, that's not where my passion lies. And that's not where I'm supposed to be pouring myself out. God, what do I do? And so I had the choice of going to the secular career, or I had the choice of leaning into God. And I said, okay, God, everything's gone. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this as a sabbatical and I am going to get closer to you in this moment. I can't pour out. So God, would you pour in? I need it. And I began to pray and I said, God, what do you want me to do differently in this season? I don't know how to do this. And I felt impressed. We believe in tithing, of course, of our finances. We pay our tithes. And I felt impressed, though, of the Lord. He said, tithe your time. And I thought, tithe my time. And so, of course, I'm always figuring things out. I get out a pen and paper and I'm counting up minutes. How many minutes do I have in every day? How much, what do I have here? And I said, okay, God, 2.5 hours or 2 hours and 40 minutes is basically what I came up with. It was something around there. And I said, okay, God, I will give that to you every day. And I made a commitment that, God, I will study, or I will pray, or I will do something for the kingdom for 2.5 hours every single day. Doesn't matter what's going on that day. Doesn't matter how busy we are. I had 2 little boys at the time, and one of them was only like 4 months old. And I was like, no, but I'm going to give that time to God. And at first it was easy because I would sit down and I would study and I'd read my Bible, or I would pray and I'd walk through the house praying. But there were days that were tough. And there were days that I would sit down to read and it was just like the words didn't make sense. And man, God, I'm trying to fulfill what I told you I would do in this season, God. And I can't. And I thought, wait a minute. There's preachers out there. There's apostolic men and women that have preached powerful sermons. They're on YouTube. I don't have to call them. It's there. And so I would look up ministers' names that I knew, and I would just, whatever would pop up by somebody that I knew had truth. It didn't matter what the sermon was called. I would click on it. And if I couldn't dig it out of the word myself because I was having a low day, if I was struggling in a prayer and I couldn't find the words to say, I'd find preaching and I would listen. And I didn't just listen while I cleaned the house. No, I would take out my notepad and my pen and I'm like, I don't care what the sermon's on. I'm going to grow from this. This is going to feed me. And I would take notes until something struck me and I would grow. And so I did that. I would listen to music in the house, gospel music as part of that 2.5 hours. But again, I wouldn't do something else. If I had music on in that time, I would worship around the house. I'd run the aisles in my house just like I was at church. And over time, things began to shift. And in that season, it's so powerful to me because the more time I gave to the Lord from that commitment, He began to give me messages. And I would be writing those down, typing those up. And the minute I would finish a message, it would just flow. The minute I would finish one, another would start. He'd give me another word. I want you to preach this. I want you to preach this, teach this, And it was just message after message after message. But I had no place to give it. I had words. I had messages and no outlet. And so I would print them out because I'm a paper person. Y'all know me in books. I would print them out and they would sit in a stack on my desk. And I just had these messages and I thought, okay, God, all right, I have no place to give them. Nobody needs me. Nobody needs these messages, but God, I'm going to thank you for them anyway. Sorry, I have a sweet little boy. Say hi. Get down. But I thought I have these messages and nobody needs me. But it's okay. God gave me something special. Maybe they're just for me. And I just kept doing it. Within about 3 weeks of God doing that, I got a call from my pastor and he said some things have shifted and I've got some elders leaving and I have things happening. And he said, I know you've never done this before and I've used you to preach maybe twice a year, but I need you to take every third Sunday night. Can you handle that? And I'm sitting here with a stack of messages. God made sure I was prepared. I said, yes, I can do that. And God began to open the door. He opened the door for a sectional ladies conference. He opened the door for a district ladies conference. He opened a door for a ladies lunch at another church. They said, hey, we need you to come speak. We feel impressed of the Lord that you have a word for us. And I began to pray, God, which of these is for them? Or he'd give me something new. And the Lord began to open the doors in that season. And I got to minister in the kingdom in a way I had never been used before. But it was because in that atmosphere that was different and it was challenging and it was new and it was scary and it was heartbreaking. In that season, I changed what I was doing. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to get some of this hot tea, but I hope that helped you. Amen. Because it encourages me. Amen. God bless.